Hi everyone, welcome to today's GCSE revision video. The 66 days to go into your GCSE Maths exam, and today what we're going to be doing is, rather than focus on an individual topic, I'm going to go through some advice and tips and guidance in terms of how to get ready for your GCSE Maths exam. So obviously there's 66 days to go, so the first thing I would say is prepare. Get ready for it. So get ready for your exams. Your exams are coming up. Your revision might be, you might have started, you might be stuck into your revision already, but you might just be sort of getting really stuck into your revision. And the first thing I would say is prepare. Get all your equipment ready. Make sure you've got your pencils, your pens, your rulers, your protractors, your compass, your calculators, all that stuff ready, because you're going to be doing lots of past papers in class soon. You might be doing them at home. It's important to get all that stuff, all that equipment ready. So prepare by getting your equipment ready, your calculators ready, get all that stuff together now. Also prepare in terms of getting your past papers together. You might be doing AQA Higher, you might be doing EdXL Foundation, you might be doing WGAC, you might be doing OCR, you might be doing CA. You'll know what exams you're doing. Print all those past papers, spend the day printing all those past papers off, stapling them, hole punching them, putting them in a folder, so that whenever it comes to doing your revision, you've got all that stuff ready. So I'd say spend a day or two getting your equipment ready, getting your past papers ready, and just prepare for this revision that you're going to be doing. So the first thing I would say is obviously prepare. So get ready for it. Even letting the people know at home that you've got your GCSE Maths exams coming up, and that, like, you might need some help. Can they quiz you and test you and go through some things. You might give them some questions to ask you, and they can regularly test you. So just prepare. Okay, the next thing is how to revise. So how do you revise for your GCSE Maths? So there's lots of different ways you can revise. Some people sit and like to read through things. I think the best way to revise your Maths is to practice it, to do it. So in terms of how, I think a big chunk of your revision will be doing past papers, doing practice papers, going through and doing lots of questions. I think the best way to revise Maths is to do Maths. Okay, so how to revise Maths? Obviously that will be a big chunk of it, but what about the rest of the time? Looking through your notes, making sure you know your formulae, knowing the information that you need to know off by heart, but also doing revision, just breaking it up and doing other things. So for instance, having flashcards, quizzing yourselves, doing things like that. So how to revise Maths? Obviously a big chunk of it will be past papers and doing practice questions and practicing, doing a little and often approach to your Maths revision, and then obviously doing sort of past papers and exam conditions and things like that. But also do things like, if you're doing the circle theorems, you're doing GCSE High, you're doing circle theorems, get some cookies and do the circle theorems on the cookies, just as a bit of variety. Or if you're revising for GCSE Foundation, likewise get your cookies and do icing on them in terms of the different parts of the circle and things like that. Okay, so how to revise Maths? I think a big chunk of it will be doing past papers and practicing it and doing Maths. I think is one of the best ways to do Maths. So it's a bit windy today. Location, not here. But in terms of location for your Maths, think about it in terms of where you're going to revise. If you're revising at home, make sure you've got a space you can revise, bit of peace and quiet. If you've got brothers and sisters that distract you, think how can you set up an area for you to do your Maths revision. I personally used to love going to the library. I used to go to Belfast Library. I used to get the bus in. It'd take me sort of half an hour to get there. I would then spend the day doing my Maths revision in the library, bring some past papers, some practice questions, go through them, bring my notes. If I needed to check anything, I could check it. Back whenever I was doing my GCSEs, I didn't have the internet to go through and check it, but you could get in the library, bring your headphones, watch a revision video when you're in the library and so on. So I used to use the library to revise. A lot of my students used to like revising in school. They used to do their day in school and then do some extra revision in school. They used to revise in the library or revise in some empty classrooms and so on. So can you revise in school? Can you revise at home? Can you revise in the library? Think of where you're going to do your revision and try and organize that and think, okay, this is my area at home. This is where I'm going to do my revision. So location is an important thing in terms of your Maths revision. Where are you going to do it? Another thing I would say is get your checklist together. So if you're doing EdXL Higher, print out the checklist from the Corbettmaths website for the EdXL Higher exam. So you've got a list of all the topics. If you're doing AQA Foundation, likewise, there's a checklist there. If you're doing OCR, if you're doing CA, there's a checklist for each of those on the website. Print off those checklists, because that means that you'll know what topics you need to know. And also on those checklists, you've got the video tutorials and some practice questions. And what I say is, with those checklists, once you print them off, so obviously prepare by getting your stuff together, think about where you're going to revise. In terms of starting your revision at this stage with 66 days to go, it would be quite useful to print off the checklist and to go through and cross off and think, I know that topic, I know Pythagoras theorem off by heart, I always get the questions right, I know that one, cross it off. In terms of adding fractions, do you know what, maybe I get adding fractions wrong sometimes, I'm going to put a star beside that one. And I would spend a day or two going through the checklist and identifying what topics do you are certainly, you're confident on, you know it, and then sort of cross them off. And then the ones that are left are the ones you need to do some revision on. So before you get stuck into the past papers, it can be quite useful in terms of identifying some individual topics you're going to work on. And I would say sort of, obviously you might still be going through the course in school and you might be going through the different topics. So now would be a good time to target some of your weaknesses and to revise strategically. So not just starting on the first topic thinking, you know what, Adding fractions, I'm going to do some work on that. Circle terms, I'm going to do some work on that. If I struggle with my fractions, decimals, percentages, I'm going to do some work on that. So the checklist would be a really useful thing for your revision as well. Okay, I've said this one already, past papers. Past papers will become a big chunk of your revision, probably for maths and also other subjects as well, because it gives you an idea in terms of the style of the questions that are asked. You can do past papers, and the great thing about past papers, unlike other practice papers and sort of other results you get, past papers, if they are the actual past papers, they'll have a grade boundary. So even you can do the past papers in exam conditions, and then you'll get a mark, and then you can change that mark into a grade and know where you're at, and know, think, do you know what, I need to do a bit more revision, or do you know what, I'm doing really well. It can be a good confidence booster in terms of knowing how you're doing as well. So past papers, I'd print them all out, as I said. I would generally start the past papers whenever I know I've covered the majority of material in class. So maybe speak to your teachers, think, sir, miss, have we much more to cover in terms of the curriculum? Is there much to do? When would you recommend I start past papers? So I would sort of be, once I go through the checklist and work on a lot of my weaknesses, and think I'm ready with a lot of this. You'll probably know yourself too from your checklist, think, I'm ready to start the past papers. And then that's a good time to be going to the library, to be doing the past papers in the library. And then once you do the past paper, mark it. Obviously, and the mark schemes are there, which is great. But then once you've marked it, the topics you've got right, fantastic. But the topics that you got wrong, you didn't get right, or you forgot how to do, then that's great, because then you know some more topics. You can go back to your checklist, watch the video tutorials, do the practice questions, and come back and revise those areas, revise strategically on the things that you got wrong on the past papers. So past papers are absolutely fantastic, and there's loads of them. And if you do them all, you can even speak to your teacher and say which of the old specification ones might be useful as well. So past papers are really useful. Doing them on your own is fantastic, but also sometimes mix your revision up. Find a friend that's doing the past papers too. Maybe say, look, should we do question one together? And then you do question one together in the library. Yeah, we got it. And mix it up a bit as well. So past papers, they will be a big chunk of your revision. Once you're doing your past papers, and once you've done quite a lot of them, I think another key thing is your timings. Generally a minute a mark. Obviously, if you work out how many marks in the exam, think, will a minute a mark be sort of a good idea for it? But think of your timings in terms of your exam. You want to make sure whenever you come to doing your GCSE Maths exam that you're timing it well, that you're not sort of running out of time, that you're not finishing really early, and that you've got loads of time spare. You want to be making sure that you're working through at a good pace. So thinking of your timings, and as you're going through and as you get a bit closer to the exam, maybe do some of the past papers timed, and then you'll know, am I finishing with a good time, or am I going too slowly, and so on. So timings would be really useful as well. And generally people think of a minute a mark, but double check, like you look at the total for the paper and think how much time you're given, and think, would a minute mark be about right? Another thing I would say is really important is your lessons. You obviously, it's 66 days to go. You've got a lot of lessons to go into your GCSE Maths exam. And what I would say is, use that time as wisely as you can, work as hard as you can in your lesson time. You'll be doing lots of revision in class, but your teacher will be going through lots of key information, giving you lots of tips, and really try and make sure your attendance is really high, making sure you're getting into all those lessons, and make sure that if there's any extra sessions that they're doing before school or after school or during lunchtime, that you're going to those, you're availing of those, you're taking those opportunities. Because in those sessions and in your lessons, whenever your teacher goes through something, that might be the really key information in the exam. So I would say use your lesson times, work your socks off for the next 66 days to go in whatever lessons you've got, and you'll hopefully do really well as well. As I said, revision sessions, are there any extra sessions on? Does your teacher put on any extra sessions, or does the head of maths do any extra sessions for you? So speak to your teacher, speak to your tutor, speak to your head of year, and ask, are there any extra sessions available for your maths revision, but also for subjects too? Try and use these sessions and try and sort of take advantage of what's there for you. And if you can go to those, fantastic, because you can do all the work now, and then in the summer you can relax and have loads of time off. Okay, in terms of your maths revision, another thing I would say is variety. With the 100 days to go videos, you've probably been watching these so far, and you've noticed I've been in my kitchen every single video. Today what I thought I'd do is come out and have a bit of a walk and just go for a bit of a dander, and I just sort of thought, I'm going to do my video somewhere else today. And that's what I said in terms of revising. Going to the library is really useful. I can just break things up, so going somewhere else. Variety in terms of working with somebody else, doing some revision with a friend or two, obviously revising, not just chatting, but sort of revising with a friend and doing revision in a different way. Also in terms of your revision, in terms of breaking it up, could you just make some cards and get your friend or parent to quiz you and go through and just ask you some questions in terms of your revision? Window pens. Whenever I used to do revision, I used to get these window pens, and I'd write it on the window, so whenever I daydreamed, it's there, but just mixing it up. And that's what I would say, in terms of your revision, try and mix it up. If you just go into your past paper and do past paper, past paper, past paper, past paper, it's going to become quite monotonous. You want to try and mix up your revision, so try and mix it up, bit of variety. Another useful thing is called a cheat sheet. With GCSE Maths, Higher and Foundation, there's lots of information you need to know. You need to know in terms of the names of your quadrilaterals, your types of triangles, your fractions, decimal percentages, Pythagoras' theorem. All these things you're going to need to know. So a thing called a cheat sheet's a really useful thing. So whenever you're going through these 100 days to go video in your lessons, take a sheet of A4 paper. Write on that A4 paper all the different things you need to know as you're going through, and write down all this key information. And have that cheat sheet. It's not for you to bring into the GCSE Maths exam. You're not cheating. Okay, but this cheat sheet, what you're going to do is you're going to write all this information on it, and have that cheat sheet so that if you're doing a past paper and you get stuck, you can pull out your cheat sheet. And then if you're doing your revision, you're doing that past paper and you pull out your cheat sheet, you think, oh, that's how you do it. As you get closer to the exam, that key information on your cheat sheet, instead of being in an A4 page, split your page into half into A5. Take a new page, a blank A5 piece of paper, and write down what you can on that A5 piece of paper. Now, all the information from the A4 one might not be able to fit on the A5 one, but what you might find is that you remember some of it at this stage, and then you can use that. So for instance, if you're doing a practice paper at home and you're doing some revision, you need some help, you can pull out that A5 cheat sheet. As you get closer to the exam, cut the cheat sheet in half again, making an A6 one. And then you're going to have to think, what key information I keep forgetting to put on my A6 one, because you haven't got enough room on that one, and as much room in that one. So you need to think, what am I going to write down? And hopefully you're remembering this stuff. And then obviously make it smaller, and end up your cheat sheet might be tiny, and you'll have this tiny cheat sheet with a little bit of information to go. And over a couple of weeks ago, you might think, I know this stuff, I can get rid of it. And all that information on the A4 stuff you should have learned. So that cheat sheet is just quite a useful thing to use in terms of your revision. Okay, so that's how to revise. In terms of resources, so we're doing the 100 days to go video, so hopefully they'll be really useful for you. Another thing is the ultimate revision video. If you go to Corbettmaths on the website, there's the ultimate revision video. It goes through the whole of GCSE Foundation and GCSE Higher, and it's quite a long video, but there's also the timestamps beneath it. But it goes through the whole course, and there's an accompanying booklet which has a question per topic. So I'd highly recommend the ultimate revision video, and I'll put a link to it in the description below this video, so that'd be really useful for your revision. The 100 days to go videos, these videos, hopefully it's little enough than approach will have a massive impact in terms of your revision. So hopefully these 100 days to go video will be really useful for you as well. Another thing in terms of resources to help you revise is revision guides and revision cards. It would be really useful to have a revision guide and to be able to go through and find information and to do some questions from it and so on. Also, the Corbettmaths revision cards, I'd highly recommend those. It might be a bit biased, but I think they're really useful if you're focused on a particular topic to use the revision cards. You can stick them up on your wall, get someone to quiz you on them, bring them on the bus to school. So I really think the revision cards would be useful for your revision as well. Another thing I would say is a balance and a little and often approach. So the 66 days to go. Your 5-a-days will be really useful for you, and doing your 5-a-days every day in terms of your build up to your exam, and that I think will be really useful for you. Using a little and often approach, but also a balance. You don't want to just revise. The 66 days to go, you don't want to peak too soon. You want to mix it up a bit. You want to make sure you're getting out and you're going for a walk and you're doing your hobbies. If you like football, playing football. If you like playing rugby, play rugby. If you like doing hockey, play hockey. If you like, if you like going running and doing like park runs, do those. Try and get a bit of a balance and make sure that you're not just revising all the time, but obviously do make sure you are dedicating time to revising, and you want to be building it up in the lead up now to the exams. So try and get a balance, but obviously do make sure you're doing a decent amount of revision as well. And the last thing I would say is believe in yourself. You can do this. You've got it in you. You can definitely get the grade that you want, or even higher in this GCSE Maths exam. You've got to believe in yourself. With 66 days to go, and with hard work between now and that exam, you can really do this. I believe in you. I think you can do it. And if you work really hard, hopefully you can get the grade that you want. So keep up the hard work. Keep going with these 100 days videos. And I'll see you tomorrow for the next video at 3 o'clock on YouTube. Cheers. Bye.